Okay, you can leave if you don't like it.
So you're trying to threaten me to leave?
Did I say that?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Repeat
You're in
what
here,
I said,
you keep getting closer and closer and closer to me and saying, you can leave, you can leave. You think it's funny?
I do.
You think it's funny?
I do.
What's your name?
Frank.
Frank? What's your first name?
Frank.
Tucson is making national news as Ice Cube tweets against the new city ordinance aimed at stopping cop watchers. Tucson Mayor Regina Romero tweets back, saying that this ordinance does not prevent people from recording cops and even specifically recognizes the right to record. But yes, the ordinance is an attempt to stop people from recording the police, and not just that, but to stop people from protesting the police when they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. But it's really important to understand why the ordinance was created in the first place. The ordinance was created in response to a video of individuals who appeared at a crime scene and engaged in a verbal attack against two Tucson police officers. The video that they're talking about can be found on Clash with Bao on YouTube. It was posted about 3 months ago and is titled, "Can You Escort Me Over?" In the video, I had come up on this traffic stop and was standing off to the shoulder about 20 feet away recording. This female officer came up and told me that my mere presence there with a camera constituted interference. She was trying to make me move back.
Can you walk that way?
No, don't talk to me. Stupid. Say a f***ing thing to me again, you dumb.
Interfering with my investigation. Interfering with my investigation.
So right off the bat, this female officer makes it perfectly clear that what she's constituting as interference is my mere presence there with a camera. With the help of multiple backup officers, they pushed us back over 200 feet so that we could not see or hear anything. We certainly couldn't record the police. Sergeant Dominguez later admits that we never should have been pushed back and that I had every right to be up there recording, but that he still wasn't going to allow me to move back up there because of Bao protesting being pushed back in the first place. So the entire reason that they tried to make this ordinance against recording the police is because somebody was protesting the actions of the police while recording them. So it's perfectly clear that the female officer was considering recording to be interference, and the city council considers free speech to be interference.
The dynamic that this is attempting to address is not the issue of people showing up and recording police activities that occur in public, but there is this new dynamic that Councilmember Lee just described, and the chief can describe in even greater detail, of these folks that go out there to videotape themselves confronting police officers so they can create some provocative video and post it on some obscure website and try and get thousands or tens of thousands of hits and make money off it. In fact, we had an example video that I know many of you have seen, but quite frankly, it's so profane and borderline obscene that we can't show it on this broadcast. And that's the type of conduct that we're trying to address here.
So all of this is about this one video. This is the video that the city council always refers to when they're talking about this new ordinance. They say that we have the right to record police from a reasonable distance where we can see and hear what's going on. I was way farther than I needed to be away from that scene, and the officer still violated my right to record. But the chief of police and city council aren't at all concerned that this officer threatened me with arrest, obstructing my right to record. Their concern was with Bao's verbal protest to her for making that threat to me and for violating my rights. So let's address that issue. Was Bao's protest legal, and do they have a right to restrict Bao's speech and protest? Or anyone else's for that matter? No.
Your arguments next in number 299, Cohen against California.
And of course, fundamentally, may it please the court, what this young man did was to walk through a courthouse corridor in Los Angeles County on his way to a courtroom where he had some business. While walking through that corridor, he was wearing a jacket upon which were inscribed the words, "Fuck the draft." Also were inscribed the words, "Stop war," and several peace symbols. When he entered the courtroom, he took off his jacket and held it folded. When he left the courtroom, he was arrested for disturbing the peace. I think it's important at the outset to point out to the court that there was no violence, no component of violence present. pointing out as it does, as it can do, depending upon this court's decision, the very vital distinction between dissent, which may be offensive to people.
You dumb bitch.
Some people may not like it, but non-violent dissent and violent dissent. It is terribly important, we submit, Your Honors, that this court make clear that distinction, that dissent by its very nature involves the right to be offensive.
You dumb bitch.
If non-offensive dissent is almost a contradiction in terms, because if it's non-offensive, it means you agree with it.
You dumb bitch.
That's the type of conduct that we're trying to address here, not just somebody videotaping or asking questions of a police officer trying to do his or her job. That conduct is protected. I'll let the chief jump in to describe a couple of the incidents in question.
You know, we've been dealing with this pattern basically of certain individuals, some of them working together with each other. They listen to the police radio and then they show up at calls. It's not even just traffic stops. They show up at police investigations. For example, I think I sent you an email about them showing up last night at a scene in Reed Park where a golf cart had been stolen and they directly interfered.
So they talk as if they're okay with us recording them, but the chief is clearly upset that we listen to the scanner to be able to know where they're at and go and record their actions. Furthermore, as far as them claiming interference, you saw that the female officer considered my mere presence interference. And every time that Tucson police cites us for disorderly conduct or interference, it's thrown out because they're unlawful charges and unlawful arrests.
Following the officers, shining flashlights in their faces.
But everything the chief accuses us of doing is what his officers are doing. Whenever we show up on scenes at night, his officers are shining spotlights in our faces and in our cameras to threaten, bully, and intimidate us, trying to deter us from coming out to record.
In this video, he called backup units because I was recording him. He asked his backup to approach me, looking for some type of confrontation, and then when he couldn't get it, he blinded me with the light.
Don't interfere. Carry on.
Oh, I just wanted to ask what kind of camera you have.
No, I'm busy.
Okay.
Thank you. Don't interfere.
Are you telling me not to interfere?
I am.
Okay, my bad.
We're conducting an investigation. Thank you. Are you kidding? Have I been rude to you? Are you f***ing kidding me? Get the light out of my face.
Following the officers, shining flashlights in their faces.
Get out of the roadway!
The roadway's blocked.
The lady who just yelled at me to get out of the roadway, which is blocked in both directions by cop cars, just jumped in her car. Wait till you see what she's about to do.
Are you fucking serious, bitch?
Following the officers, shining flashlights in their faces.
I'll put links to these videos in the description so you can watch them in their entirety and see in context that I wasn't doing anything but recording them and that them shining the light at me is retaliatory simply for me being there.
So what they do is they just quarantine off everything.
Heroin.
Hello? Good? Can you not blind me? Can you not blind me, please? Do I need to move? You want me to move? Hey, just don't blind me, man. I can't see where I'm walking. If I need to move, I'll move. Stop blinding me, please. What are you doing?
Shining flashlights in
You
their
okay?
faces.
Okay, why are you blinding me?
Shining flashlights in their faces.
I can't see where I'm walking. Okay, well, you're blinding me. You're gonna hurt me.
For months now, every time we show up to record a scene, Tucson police shine their lights into our cameras to blind us, and then tell us that we're not allowed to use our lights.
This dude's blinding me with his light. That's real nice.
As you can see, the area is well illuminated by their floodlights, but they intentionally use their spotlights to shine directly in our cameras and in our faces. This is clearly not about being able to see us, but about discouraging us from recording them by bullying us.
Shining flashlights in their faces, shining flashlights in their faces, shining flashlights in their faces. The video that I shared with you was one where 4 individuals who were wanted in a robbery were pulled over. An officer, she was by herself at first. She was trying to deal with 4 potentially dangerous and armed individuals. And she has this group approaching, coming right up to the car, getting in her face, screaming horrible misogynistic comments at her, trying to be provocative.
But the video proves that Chief is lying. The video that he's talking about is the same one that they always talk about, where Bao was cussing out a cop for trying to restrict our right to record. This is the video seen from my viewpoint, which has not been seen before. When I approach the traffic stop, I'm on a public right-of-way. There are 2 police cars. The woman is not alone. There are no suspects in the vehicle. Everyone has been detained.
There are 4 individuals who were wanted in a robbery were pulled over. An officer, she was by herself at first. She was trying to deal with 4 potentially dangerous and armed individuals.
Nobody gets in the face of any police officers or walks right up to any cars. The police approach me
There's nobody in the vehicle.
and try to start a confrontation with me.
There's nobody in the victim's vehicle.
And she has this group approaching, coming right up to the car, getting in her face.
Hello. I don't mind that you're recording, but I'm going to request that you do it over there at the end of that property, okay?
Getting in her face.
Is that a lawful order?
Yes. Right over there, please.
Why is that?
This is an investigation, and I would like you to be over there, please.
All right, if you don't have a crime scene taped off, then you need to back up.
You need to move, please.
Why?
Walk over that way, please.
What's your name?
It's Officer Moritz.
Officer Marintz?
Yes.
All right.
Can you walk that way, please?
No, bitch, don't talk to me.
Coming right up to the car, getting in her face.
Officer Moritz approached me. Officer Moritz violated my right to record by pushing me back over 200 feet to where I could not see or hear what was going on. This is why we have problems with Tucson police. So people have a problem with Bao using language that they don't like to protest a government agent, but they don't have a problem with that government agent using threats of force and violence to violate people's rights. Members of the city council have expressed concerns about Tucson police using the new ordinance to push people back from crime scenes farther than they should be, and to be setting up excessive perimeters. The chief knew exactly what happened that night, but he lied to the city council. He didn't tell them that this entire thing started when the police were doing exactly what the city council was worried that they might do. So we have a problem in Tucson with bad police restricting our right to record. And as a result, Chris Magnus goes before the city council to make an ordinance that makes it easier for him to throw us in a cage and fine us for recording his officers. I hope the city council will realize that our rights were violated by this police officer on that night. We run into wonderful cops out there in Tucson all the time, but on the occasion where we run into one like this, the blue line seems to back them all. And now city council's got their back too. Clearly, the police already felt empowered to violate our rights. What's this ordinance going to make them do? The people have faith in the city council and the mayor of Tucson to get rid of Chief Magnus and to replace him with a leader who's willing to take the police department in the direction of respecting people's rights, not bullying citizens out recording by shining lights in their faces and blinding their cameras. If you can't get the police to respect basic rights, then I guarantee you there's a lot more disrespect coming for the police.
Stupid hoe.
3 out of 9-4.
Say a
Can I
fucking
get
thing to me again, you dumb bitch.
have individuals not wanting
You don't have a fucking thing, bitch. You don't got nothing, alright?
She says,
You got a loud mouth and you need to shut the fuck up, you stupid bitch.